Good morning and welcome to another edition of Mega Cares. My name is Tony Gonzalez. I'm so glad you joined us again this week. We got so much that we're going to talk about today. I want to get right to it. We're going to talk about houses. Everybody, hopefully, is living in a house. Whether you rent or your own, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But what's housing like? Are people coming from LA? That's what everybody says. What's going on in town with the housing? Where are we going on the Central Coast? Where are we going worldwide? And he may have most of those answers. His name is Shea Hutchinson. He is from Patterson Real Estate, a very good friend of mine before and after. We've been through a lot. We're just really good friends. So, Shea, thanks for being here today with us.
Thank you, Tony. Pleasure to be here.
You come a little bit closer to the mic right there. That way I can hear you nice and loud and clear. So, welcome to the show. You look very much like a realtor is supposed to look.
Well, thank you very much.
The tie flaring, you got the suit going, professional. But what I love about you is you've never changed who you are from before you were in real estate to now to when you're away from work or at work. You're one of those guys that's really true and genuine. And I think that's really what makes a good professional in the first place. Let's go back. What got you into real estate?
Well, my grandfather was in real estate for
Didn't know that.
for 38 years.
As a realtor?
As a realtor.
Okay.
Pretty much doing his own business, investments, property management, but bought a lot of property here in Santa Maria in the early 70s.
Uh-huh.
And, as I got older, I, saw that he did really well in real estate and, it piqued my interest. And
Sure.
he encouraged me to get my license.
Really?
And then
And what were you doing at the time?
At that time, I was working at a grocery store.
So you were with Paul over at, was it Williams Brothers then?
I was actually at Vaughn's.
Vaughn's,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And did you think grocery was going to be it, or were you like, nah, this is not where I want to be? Because some people love grocery.
No, it was a good career while I was there. I
Yeah.
mean, it did fine. I mean, it got vacations. It was,
But you're like, Grandpa just seemed like he was having a good time, and it was fun.
Right. No, I just always wanted to do something more.
Yeah.
I wanted to, possibly get in a situation where I had more control
Yes.
of my business, moving forward and enhancing my business.
Yes. So you signed up, you go for it, and where's the first place you started working at?
Well, initially, I actually got into lending for a
really?
short time.
Okay.
Because I was thinking I was going to go that route. Wasn't sure about the real estate route.
Mm-hmm. What year are we talking?
2003.
Okay.
That was right after the grocery store strike.
Okay.
I left the grocery store at that time.
Good time to leave.
Yeah, and then worked in lending for a couple of years.
Uh-huh.
Really wasn't my niche.
Mm-hmm.
In 2005, good friend of mine, Paul Rodriguez,
Yes.
encouraged me to, maybe venture on the real estate side, and went over to Keller Williams,
Yeah.
and it was, a good move.
Yeah.
They were just opening that office here in Santa Maria. It was, a good opportunity, good training, good place to get my foot in the door.
That's awesome. How important, because I know taking the test isn't as much of the training, how important is it to get into a broker's office that has that kind of training available to you?
Oh, it's very important. You can pass the real estate exam and pretty much not know anything about how day-to-day business
Isn't
works.
that crazy?
Because it's nuts.
I mean, why are we taking that thing?
I mean-
If I remember, because I've been through it, it's like, why am I going to need to know some of this stuff? Because what's it really come down to when you're selling homes to folks here on the Central Coast?
Knowledge of your product, of the industry, what the market is, market trends, and just confidence in dealing with people and
Right.
all walks of life.
Yeah, because I bet you see them all.
Yes, I do.
Let's talk a little bit about the market right now. How are we looking at this present time?
Very good question. We've kind of more so a level market right now. We peaked almost 1 year ago. Because prices were going up for several years. March of last year, I think the market peaked. I do the numbers for our MLS meetings
Yep.
on a monthly basis. And since then, they've kind of fluctuated here and there, haven't got up to the high point of they did of March last year. This year so far, we've actually gone down a little bit from earlier. Inventory has also decreased. It generally happens right in the December, January time. Inventory
Got the
decreases.
holidays happening.
Right.
Maybe people are switching jobs. It's not really a whole lot that people are concentrating on getting their home ready to go.
Exactly. And also, each price sector is very different as well right now. We're probably having over 50% of our closed transactions in the 400 and under price point, with very few 600 plus, which is a very slow market right now.
Wow. And are those considered luxury homes at that point at 600 plus
Um,
for our area?
for our area,
I
I
mean,
would
Kansas, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I'm basically for our area.
Okay. And we're talking like if you're in Santa Maria, you're thinking what, Deerfield
Oak Hill,
area, Oak Hill
Rice
area.
Ranch.
Okay. Perfect.
You know,
So what's selling are the maybe the older homes, the older tract homes, those kind of things.
correct.
Okay.
Like I said, the entry level, right in the 4 and less range is our biggest pool of buyers, obviously, and it's our biggest pool of inventory as well. So
Right.
that's where most of the movement is.
As anybody knows, if you're going to have a party of any kind, you got to have somebody who's going to pay for it. How much is lending a factor in what you're doing and what's happening out there?
Oh, it's crucial. It's very important to make sure you have a good experienced lender that, knows their stuff and thoroughly vets, the buyers out there to make sure that there's no issues that come up during the transaction that are unforeseen that's going to, blow up a deal. So having a good, solid lender is paramount.
And what should people be looking for in their lender?
Somebody with knowledge of the area, somebody with experience, somebody that has been consistent track record that's good in the area.
It's going to be better to find somebody who's been doing it a while.
Right.
With lending these days, things are changing so fast in the housing market and whatnot. Has that had an effect in any of your deals?
As for it has, because back when in the mid 2000s, after the boom and the bust,
Yes.
lending changed drastically because after all those bad loans were out there, the pendulum always swings a little bit too far one way, so
Sure.
they became a little bit too stringent on loans and programmed options, which have become to this point much better now. So you were able to qualify a lot more pool of buyers. Our issue here is since the prices have gone up, obviously it has priced a lot of our typical population here, which is a challenge.
Yeah, it is. It is a challenge, and that's not just a challenge for you; it's a challenge for the city and a challenge for business owners here because we have to be able to afford it. We have to be able to do that. We have to do that job market too to be able to support that. So it becomes kind of everybody's kind of problem
Exactly. No, it's
in
a
this
trickle down.
situation. Yeah, it definitely is. Well, let's talk a little bit about when you are a realtor, you have to show some homes. What are some of the best tips you can give for getting your home kind of ready for for sale?
For such as like in a listing, when you have a
Yes.
listing, which you definitely want to. I generally have a checklist of just streamlining.
That's something you give your clients?
Yeah, I actually go over that with them
That's
on
great.
our listing
Good
agreement. It's a checkbox. You don't have to do everything on the checkbox, but it's a guideline. It's more so streamlining, getting rid of clutter, maybe removing some furniture in certain rooms where it makes it a little bit more open.
Sure.
Deferred maintenance, some painting here and there.
That's kind of hard as a realtor, I would think, having to walk into somebody's home. You've just decided with them, well, we're going to look at maybe showing this home next month. Let me take a look at your house. And maybe they've got 5 cats, and there's an aroma in the air. And these people love their cats. How do you know? There's a sign that says, I love my cats.
Right.
And you're about to tell them there's a little bit of a stank in this house. How do you handle something like that?
That is always a challenge. You have to sometimes be very delicate with that.
Sure.
But you kind of put it as, I ask them to put on their buyer's hat. Walk in the place. What do you want to see if you're coming in to buy your house? How do you want it to look? How do you want it to smell?
Yes.
What do you want to see if you want to buy this house? Make yourself want to buy your house.
How often do you find people who are like, look, it is what it is. I don't have time. Just sell it, Shea.
That is doable as well. I mean, sometimes people are that way.
Right.
I'd say, it could reduce our pool of buyers. It could affect our price.
Sure.
But if that's best for you, we'll go that route.
Right. It's just amazing to me how when some people will go through this process and realize, hey, I actually kind of like this home after they've decluttered it. That becomes an issue as well. I would be like, well, this isn't too bad now that I've gotten rid of all the junk.
Right. I've also had people say, initially, I wanted to do this project, and they do it right before they sell it. They didn't live with it the whole time they were there.
Yeah, exactly. Now, let's talk a little bit about that. You or one of their friends is standing there and says, great Shea on your home. You cleaned up the inside of the home. It looks great. Got rid of that cat smell. But you know what you ought to do is build a porch onto here because Shea's going to be able to sell it for so much more. So they spend a weekend, they get it done, they come to you and they say, we want to hike it up $50,000. Talk to me about that little scenario.
I definitely talk about that during our listing agreement, about things to do to the house that are going to be beneficial, whether it's going to create a larger pool of buyers or it's going to be beneficial on price. In certain markets, it's not necessarily, you're not going to get dollar for dollar on improvements. It may make a buyer choose a home in the same price point, other than choose your home other than another home because you've done these improvements, but price wise, it's not going to affect you greatly.
And when you're doing your listing presentation to them, are you showing them other homes that you're like, look, this is pretty comparable to your home, so the difference in your home between theirs on the negative over the positive, that's part of the process as well?
Oh, definitely. Come in with all the comps, come in with active comps to see what our current competition is going to be, see what the sold comps are, so we know, where our landing point is and possible appraisal. So we go over those numbers pretty thoroughly.
I have my favorite realtors. I'm sure you have yours, other than you. And many people are out there going, well, my cousin, and in fact, in my case, my cousin sells real estate. What are people, how many realtors should they sit with? Or is it really who they feel comfortable with? How am I deciding on the right realtor if they really don't have that favorite or that person that they're going to go to from prior?
Well, if you don't have one, maybe word of mouth of friends. Also, you want to go with somebody who is full-time, definitely.
That's a good point, because I don't think people realize that there can be part-time realtors.
Right. And then also, a friend of a friend may not be a fit for you if they're doing it part-time or whatever the case may be. Vet, how long the person has been in the business, what are their sales records, what other things that that you would want to have a realtor that you would work with.
Right. Is it healthy to let the person know, hey, look, Shea, I'm meeting with you today, but I've got two other guys that are coming in, and I'll let you know which one I decide?
Definitely. I mean, that's competition.
I'm not being a jerk by saying that.
No, not at all.
I mean, does that up your game now that you're going into this? You're like, I got to do it. I mean, I know you're coming in with all your guns anyways, but still, is that going to help a little bit with you?
Every situation, whether you know it or not, you go in that you're facing competition. So you're always bringing your A game and, tell them how best you're going to be able to serve them.
Here on the Central Coast, as opposed to the rest of the United States, how do we sit in comparison to everybody else when we look at our housing market?
Well, obviously, California is a wonderful place to live. Central Coast is, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
Right.
I mean, we're in between Los Angeles and LA. We're much more affordable than either of those places.
Yep.
And I think, better weather. I mean,
yes.
It's just, across the nation, obviously, that's a vast question. Every, state and cities within states have different, micro markets. And we even do here on the Central Coast where, Orcutt and Santa Maria are different from Rio Grande, Pismo.
Yes.
I mean, in each of these cities
vastly different, sure.
are, that you have to know your market in each of those cities that you're going to be working in, because it is completely different.
So what we're looking at, how plausible is it to say, hey, I'm going to be moving to Texas, Shea? Call Shea up. He's been a realtor forever. He's my friend. What do you do in those situations? Because there are some agents nowadays, as time's going on, as things are happening because of technology, they can look up homes. And is that a wise thing to stick with your local guy? Or is it better for your local guy to say, hey, look, let me hook you up with, let me find one for you over there?
Well, actually, I just had that exact scenario.
Really?
Somebody moving to San Antonio, a past client was purchased from
Texas
me.
Too. Everybody's going to Texas.
And I actually am a part of a referral group.
Okay.
Where I actually get to talk to and know other realtors wherever in the country in my referral group, and I get to pick a realtor that I feel is going to fit my client, somebody that I try to pick similar to me.
Right.
And I did in this scenario. They got the agent. They actually closed on their property yesterday,
that's awesome.
And they loved the agent that I got for them. And
That's
it was
great.
It was great.
And that serves everybody. So I mean, that's another good thing to be looking at is how connected is your real estate agent, not just here on the Central Coast, but really how in depth are they across the nation? Because the real estate market is very small. Any kind of industry is very small once you know who the players are. Yeah.
Exactly. And local is paramount. To know your local area, working with an agent in your local area, with the internet and all the changes in our industry right now, a lot of times we're getting a lot of out of area agents or companies, that are listing properties here, and they don't know anything about the area.
People in LA love to sell here,
right?
And you're like, get out of here.
and sometimes the sellers are thinking they're saving a buck.
Yes.
But if you are working with an agent that doesn't know your area, doesn't know how to negotiate your area, it's not going to work out for you.
Let's talk about that dude that likes to save a buck. And he loves his internet. He loves Zillow. He loves looking these things up, and he's going to pull you in, and he's going to tell you how much this house is worth. How real is that scenario these days?
No, it's very common.
Yeah.
Basically, when you're going into a listing appointment, you want to look at all the websites because you know they've looked at them. You have to
assume they already have.
Yeah, and you have to work with that knowledge that where their mindset is, and and then be able to explain why or why not that is close,
right?
And what you would need to be to that price or not.
How long is a listing presentation on average?
It varies. I mean, I've had some of them just go really quick. Somebody ready to list, they say, this, 15 minutes. I've had others last an hour and a half.
So let's even take that, an hour and a half. In an hour and a half, you got to sit down, deal with some tough questions and some tough situations there, and they've got to be ready to sell with you. What makes you keep going after that? What is it that you love about that?
Well, it's the chase.
Yeah.
I mean,
is that the most favorite part of the whole process to you?
That's part of what drives me.
Check day's pretty nice.
Check day's good, but you don't get check day unless this other happens first.
But I would imagine that hunting part, and that kind of feels like that's what that part is. That listing, that you're hunting for that next deal, and you're negotiating, and you're using those moves that you use, whether they're ones you learned or just being a human and being able to communicate with somebody. Is that a little exciting for you and enticing?
Oh, totally. It keeps you on your toes, keeps you with your A game.
Yeah.
Whether you know that you're just walking into somebody that is a referral from a friend and you're pretty much certain you're going to get the listing.
Yeah.
You can never assume.
Sure.
You just go in there and provide all the information that you would in any other case, and be very thorough and give them the information they need.
We're talking to Shea Hutchinson. Shea is a local real estate agent. He's been president of the board. Yeah.
Currently president of the board.
Current president of the board. I mean, he's been doing this how many years now?
I've had my license for 22 years. I've been doing it full time for 16 years.
For y'all that don't know, there's been some ups and downs in those 22 years. So he's been through a lot. Again, he's over at Patterson Real Estate. Technology these days. I'm seeing these cameras that these realtors are putting up, and now you're seeing virtual tours on the internet. And I mean, how real are we to seeing the actual real estate agent one-on-one go away? That's my first question. Number two, what are your feelings on that?
That is a big concern in our industry right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many things that are coming in to encroach our business right now, whether it be internet companies or just the information out there for the consumer. That's why it is so important to be able to have the local knowledge, mm-hmm. And be able to, have somebody, ensure somebody that will have confidence in you and why you provide a value locally and
mm-hmm. knowing
best. Because there's all kinds of things that, can come into play. If you know a certain neighborhood has an issue with maybe sewer lines, mm-hmm. you're going to want your, buyer to get that scoped and check that out. These internet people have no idea of this stuff. And this could be a multi-$1,000 issue if it is not checked out.
It's got to be hard to go up against, though, because they're, for lack of a better word, they're real sexy videos. They're, ooh, I see the bathroom, and I get to turn around. I can even see the ceiling, and everything's made so easy. There's a button for a lender. I'm going to hit the lender, and all of a sudden, everything's electronic. And where'd the humans go?
No, exactly. And, that is a concern. I don't think you could ever sell real estate directly online because you're not only coming in to look at the house that you're coming in by, you're looking at the neighborhood. You want to see who's next door to you, across the street from you. You need to see the neighborhood. You don't see that on any of these videos.
Yeah. One of the scariest videos I ever saw, and I say it's scary because I, too, come from a real estate family. I've been in the industry before. I love it, and I think it's an organic way to sell something. You have to have a person there. So I say that to say that the scariest video I ever saw was a video where there was really no personal one-on-one organic contact with a human being. It was all through a phone and a computer and a keypad to get into the house. Right. I mean, that scared the heck out of me. And I'm like, this can't happen. But as you see more technology come, you're like, oh my gosh. Is there something that your group whether locally or the National Realtors Association you belong to. Is there something that they're doing to kind of combat that at all, or are they just kind of waiting and seeing what happens?
Well, there is that is definitely a concern and something scary for our industry. I'm also a state director for California Association of Realtors. In our meetings, we do discuss these things,
Right.
on what's going to be our
That's
best.
a good thing to put on the table.
Oh, definitely the best way to protect our industry.
Yes.
Because we definitely want to continue doing this and have our jobs and show our value.
Sure.
The point is to show the value of a local real person.
Yes.
I mean, all of these other things, people may be saving money or thinking they're saving money here and there.
They're saving money. That's a
Right.
good point.
And a lot of times they're not. And a lot
Right.
of times they're even losing money.
Well, and I always think about those times where you could save money over that discount bin, but if you pay a little bit more, you're going to get actually what you want. You're going to be happy. It's going to last longer, and you're going to feel good about it. And maybe it'll be something you pass on. And that's, that I look at as the real estate agent. Unfortunately, we see industries much like the one we're talking in right now, the radio format, where the human being has gone away. These people don't live here locally. So that's why I see that reality now. I'm like, well, it happened in that industry, over there. And it's kind of scary. So, well, I'm glad you're on top of it. And I'm glad it's not something that's going to hit you guys by the side. You guys are smart minds are already thinking about that.
Definitely. You always got to be looking forward.
Give me some funny stories. I know you have had to have. You don't give me the names.
Okay.
We'll turn off the mic later and you can tell me the names.
Right.
Give me some funny stories as to, maybe a listing presentation you walked in on or a home that you saw. What's a couple that stand out in your mind?
Well, one that stands out is it was a transaction that I had done in Orchid several years ago. I was actually representing the buyer and the seller.
Uh-huh.
And we had close day coming up. And I kept on going to the seller's house. They were a little bit behind on getting their stuff out of the house. And, I was getting concerned. And then we have close day. And they said, oh, we're doing good. Close day, the buyer pulls up with his truck, and they have not taken anything out of their house.
Oh, no.
So they're in the front yard.
And technically, the buyer owns the house at
Yeah,
that point?
exactly.
Oh, no.
And so they're in the front yard arguing. And then one of them called me, and then I was there. And so what we did is I went home, changed clothes, and I started moving. Everybody helped them move all their stuff out to the yard.
Wow.
And so the other people, the new buyer could start, moving stuff in.
Oh, my God.
But that was, looking back at it, it's a little bit funny, but
Sure.
Their teenage son says, I've never seen a realtor help move before.
You're like, you've never seen a guy want his check so bad. But you got to be willing to do that kind of stuff.
No.
I'm sure, agents, we like to think of them, again, looking like you do today, completely professional. But I've seen agents do some stuff that's just to help out and get things done and make it happen. And I think it's about knowing your client probably and their needs.
Exactly. I mean, you're more than the transaction. A lot of my clients I become friends with.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of times you say it's a lot of short-term relationships you're within a transaction, and then boom, the transaction's over, and you never see them again.
Yeah.
But sometimes you become really good friends with your clients, which is really cool, and you get to see what they do to the house in the future, and stay in dialogue with them, and that's a good thing to just really enhance your reputation.
One of the top reasons that people don't go back to the realtor that they used prior was, from what I understand, because that person never stayed in touch. How do you change that? How does Shea Hutchinson put his touch on that? And how do you follow up with these guys for years so that in 7 years they're ready again, they come and call you?
Actually, I have a few things that I do with that. I obviously some of the advertising that I do. But also my database, I send out, either quarterly newsletters. Also, I do some really cool internet stuff that obviously, since everything is going that direction, with real estate information or,
Sure.
Just something that, affects the area or something. Really, really cool information that I have everybody in my database that they get that once a month.
How good does that feel when you're doing this for the second or third time for a family?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Really good. Like the one I just sold with my people moving to Texas.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he called me up and said, Shea, I'm moving to Texas. We need to sell our home. And I said, well, I really appreciate you staying in touch with me and giving me the chance to help you again. He said, I wouldn't have called anyone else.
That's awesome. We're talking to Shea Hutchinson. He's from Patterson Real Estate. You must have had people that you saw in front of you that you're like, that's where I want to be. Hell, you had some that I'm sure you're like, that's exactly who I don't want to be like. We won't talk about those guys. Let's talk about the ones that here either locally or to you. I know your grandfather, you mentioned that. You mentioned Paul. Is there anybody else that kind of sticks out in your mind that you're like, if it wasn't for that person? And a good example might be that one time where you were just like, I'm done with real estate. And that's really probably the most truthful time. And what turned you around at that time, or who was it?
Well, obviously, my good friend Paul. I mean, he was crucial when I went over to Keller Williams because I was, definitely just learning the business from lending. He was very helpful in, helping me kickstart my career and giving me confidence about, the business. So he's someone that I really, consider that has helped me in my business. Also, when the market shifted, obviously, I hadn't been in the business that long.
Right.
It was 2005, and then 2007 is when, the bottom dropped out.
Oh boy, did it! And my bottoms fell, your bottoms fell, everybody's bottoms fell.
And at that point, I was thinking, "Wow, did I make the wrong career choice? Maybe I should have stayed in the grocery industry because it was grim." Yeah. But I just, stuck with it, patience and persistence, and wanted to, failure was not an option.
Right.
I was going to do whatever it was going to take. And as that progressed, we started to get a lot of foreclosures coming after the drop out of the market. And that started happening, 2009, 10, 11. And Eddie Stanfield, came to me and we got some REO accounts of the bank-owned properties and wanted me to come over and help him with those at that time. And I thought that was, he had said he'd been watching me in the industry and knew that I was going to be somebody that was going to be able to succeed.
And really at that time, I mean, he's still one of those guys that's out on the real estate Mount Rushmore, and you're like, Eddie wants me to go work for you.
Oh, correct. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
And I thought, it's going to keep me in the business.
Yeah.
So we started getting the REO business, and that was where I really, started developing my database because there were so many transactions that were taking place. I had buyers, and it started, and I knew it wasn't going to be easy.
Right.
You just had to work and make it happen. And so I'm very thankful for Eddie for putting me in that position to help my career, and that was another springboard to my success today.
That's awesome. And he's doing good. I think just lives on the beach now and rides a bike. It's the only time I get to see him.
Good place to be, yes.
Yeah, we're gonna be anywhere, man. California on the beach, riding a bike, and always with a smile on his face.
Definitely.
I never understood. He used to call me Uncle Tony, and I still don't know why. Maybe someday I'll learn. But I was Uncle Tony to him. I don't know. Maybe he had an uncle that looked like me. That would be even weirder. We're talking to Shea Hutchinson from Patterson Real Estate, just about to get and wrap this thing up. Anything we're missing that you'd like to get out, or anything about your business and what's happening? How can people get a hold of you? That kind of thing.
Obviously, I work at Patterson Realty. We're in Santa Maria, Orchid. We're on the 2646 Santa Maria Way, Suite 103. My phone number is 805-260-6322. 805-260-6322. If you want to drop me a line on an email, my email address is shay@shayhutchinson.com.
And Shea is spelled S-H-E-A.
Shea, yes, S-H-E-A. And, I'm a full-time realtor, and I'm, always looking for...
You think you found the lifetime gig?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Because, you can retire whenever you want, whatever age you want, when you're done having fun.
Found my niche.
And you would suggest this kind of career for anyone, you think?
No.
Who's the right person for this kind of career?
You have to be driven. You have to be thick-skinned. You have to have tremendous people skills. You have to have integrity, because all those things will keep you in the business long term.
Awesome. Shea, I appreciate you being here. One last bit. What's kind of a slogan that you live by, that every day you get up and you're like, this is it. This is what I'm going to live by?
Going the extra mile.
I love it. Thank you for being here today, man. I appreciate it. Shea Hutchinson from Patterson Real Estate. We're talking real estate. If you get a chance, give him a call. I think you speak at a few places too. You'll be able to go see him there. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll check you out next week with another great guest right here on Mega Cares.